Hello.
Hey y'all.
Thank you for joining us. You are speaking to TacoBagel. And we will be discussing our favorite topic of the holiday season.
Fucking Christmas hegemony.
And why Christmas is oppressive as hell.
Super oppressive.
And joining us today as our special speaker, a guest speaker, is this lovely Christmas tree.
A whole ass Christmas tree. 100% of a Christmas tree.
So today, we will be talking to each other over a glass of wine. And hopefully, the internet will stay connected. And
Yeah, it's fucked us twice now.
So yeah, we're pretty sure that we are being systemically censored, and that's just like a conspiracy theory. Actually, I have no basis for that. It could just be my terrible Wi-Fi.
No, it's totally true, and I would like to use this opportunity to point out that a podcast involving a Jew is being censored. So for people who say that Jews control the media, that's a strike against your conspiracy theory right there.
But also, we did aggressively choose to point out that Christmas isn't shit.
True.
So
maybe Santa controls the internet.
Ooh. Yes.
This is some hot topic journalism right there.
Yes.
You heard it here first, folks. Santa controls the internet.
Santa may or may not be the Illuminati.
Damn.
We don't know.
It's taken thousands of years, but we cracked the puzzle.
Yeah.
Santa is the Illuminati.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about why a Grinch like yourself,
Oh, a proud Grinch.
a proud Grinch, right, has allowed a Christmas tree into your household this year?
Oh God, it was
You heard it. This isn't the tree. The tree.
No, this is no. I would have nothing to do with a tree of this size.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
So I am not just a proud self-identified Grinch. I am also a proud self-identified Jew. And I come from this working class, middle class front facade putting on because there's a wealth barrier to access and everything in Judaism. So I come from this working class Jewish family in like the least Jewish suburb that you could ever imagine. Like there were maybe 8 Jews living in the town, and there had never been a synagogue in the town or any town bordering it. And so we were, of course, the only people who didn't have like Christmas lights or anything up. And I grew up very strongly identifying with being the house that anybody else could recognize because you drove down the street and it was the only house without lights. And also, I'm a bitter old lady. And so I refuse to assimilate into United States-based Christian hegemony and put up the trappings of Oily Josh season. And yeah, but, you know, unfortunately, that hit a little bit of a snafu this year because my lovely wife, who may or may not be watching, she's in class, so I kind of hope she's not watching. Babe, if you're watching, get back to work. I love you, but get back to work. So she is, among many things, an ex-Catholic. And she went through an internet atheist phase, and now she's in her, like, I don't give a shit, I want a Christmas tree, and I'm in agnostic phase. And so she's been bothering me about a Christmas tree for years. Since we've been together, and this year I finally caved because I, in a very strange cultural development for this particular Jew, found out that I cared about an individual person more than I care about arguing something ad nauseum.
I can relate to that. I also, this Christmas tree belongs in my apartment, and this is the first time I put a Christmas tree up in 20 years.
Whew.
So I think I come from a different point of view. My entire religious backstory is very different. Like I grew up, you know, with like a Mexican household, but a non-religious one. But for whatever reason, like there are certain traditions that like Mexicans hold like dear to their heart, and like Christmas is like one of them. And I think it's mostly like a family thing, right? Like we get to bring people together. We get to you know, make food together. We get to be in a space where there's like community. So unfortunately, after, you know, a number of years of living in like my home, like I didn't find any comfort or nourishment or like any sense of community from being in that household. And so for me, like the holidays are kind of traumatic because that was like the signifier of like the beginning of like the dismantling of like my family paradigm.
Right.
So for me, it's different. It's like the holidays carry trauma, and like when you are alone, or when you are, especially as a queer person, like the holidays are kind of like this reminder that your family like cast you away and that you're not welcome as part of that community. And so I think like for me, it's like the holidays and Christmas especially has been like the struggle to like emotionally navigate that space. And it's been interesting because I have a partner who had a very like healthy, loving, functional family household, and
so healthy.
He's
so healthy.
And can I just say that's amazing? I got to experience that for the first time this year. And guys, if you don't have like a functional family, like most of us don't, go find one. Just spend the holidays with them, and like just bask in the like sheer bitterness of like such like supportive family structures.
Oh my god.
Like I was in awe. Like I was in awe. I don't know how to explain this. Like here I am. Like I'm this kind of like black sheep / orphan who's always sort of like wandered from like family to family growing up, just spending the holidays with them. No, and to be honest, like my friends have all been really supportive. They're always like inviting me to their like family dinners and stuff. But that shit's triggering. I fucking hate it. I hate being, like, the only person, like, at the Christmas, like, gathering while everybody else opens presents. And I'm just kind of like, alright, well, one, I don't have the money to, like, to indulge this type of capitalism. But also, like, I'm not a part of this family. Like, even if they give me a present, I'm just a guest. So, for me, it's just been a lot of, like, having to, like, assimilate to, like, this culture that's supposed to be, like, really warm and embodying of, like, family and like heteronormativity. And the best
gingerbread cookies.
Yeah, and like, you know, the best holidays are the ones I've had with like my queer family where we're like bitter and we're like drinking.
Yes.
And we're like,
oh my god, like right now.
Yes. Like,
yes.
And to be honest, like, I mean, I like that. I prefer that because like then there's like a sense of like trauma bonding.
Right.
People understand that, and I think like that's important.
The best kind of bonding.
Yeah. And obviously it's different for you because you have a religious facet to your trauma.
I'm so bitter about this shit too, because let me tell you, not only has Christian hegemony sort of like pressured a whole bunch of Jews into like observing some sort of Christmas gathering, it forced us to elevate a completely minor holiday to astronomical cultural importance to have Jew Christmas.
Hanukkah?
Hanukkah is an ain't shit holiday. That's about nothing.
I mean, for people who are just joining in, Steph is Jewish. She's not saying that Hanukkah. She's not like.
I'm not some goyim over here trashing Hanukkah. No, I see. Like Hanukkah is an extraordinarily minor holiday with like very little religious significance. And what it is it's the story of the Maccabees, who expelled the Assyrians from the Holy Land, blah, blah, because the Assyrians wanted to do what they were doing at the time and take over more land, and they, you know, knocked down the temple, and they spilled all the olive oil, and they spilled all the everything else.
That was messy.
Yeah, and when the Maccabees kicked them out, they found a barrel of oil that was supposed to only last for 1 day, but lasted for 8 days, and it was a miracle, and now we get to dance and eat candy.
Yeah.
Which is actually how a lot of Jewish holidays are, is basically somebody wanted to kill a lot of Jews, failed to kill any Jews, and let's eat.
Well, that is reason to celebrate.
It is, but it's like it's a very Jewish archetype is, somebody's trying to kill us, it didn't work out this time, let's eat.
So you think, your theory is that Hanukkah became a bigger, more celebrated holiday because of Christmas?
It absolutely did, because Hanukkah is a religiously non-significant holiday. And we've actually glossed over a lot of the really important parts of the Hanukkah narrative in our like slapdash eagerness to have a Jew Christmas, because the Maccabees were actually terrible people. The Maccabees were this like group of this like family of Jewish people who were super xenophobic. And at the time, there was a divide between like traditional Jews and Jews who were embracing like a more Hellenized style of worship. Mm-hmm. And the Maccabees were really mad that there were all these Hellenized Jews. And so what they wanted to do after they got rid of the Assyrians was they wanted to kill all the Hellenized Jews. Mm-hmm. But we don't tell that part of the Hanukkah story where this family of people wanted to go around just killing all these other Jews because of a minor religious disagreement. We just tell the yay Maccabees part. Yay, let's spin the dreidel and eat the candy and light the candles. But we never talk about the fact that the Maccabees were like homicidal assholes.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Somebody should do a small mini web children's video. No,
listen up, kids. The Maccabees were horrible.
But I think the what the potential problem with that is that obviously, like, people could utilize that for their own
right.
like, you know, like,
right.
So so what do you think is like the biggest or most effective way of like battling hegemony of Christmas time, right? Like,
oh God.
What does that even mean in like a society that like for the most part doesn't even celebrate Christmas for any religious like purpose? It's mostly.
Wait, we don't?
I mean,
I
don't know about we.
Somebody tell Fox News.
No, I think, like, if you ask a majority of people what sort of religious component they have to their Christmas celebrations, I think it's really minimal.
Right.
And even the people who, like, consider themselves to be religious, like, there's just, like, so much of it is about just, like, bringing family together, eating, and having presents. And I think a lot of it has been, like, agitated by capitalism and the like society that we like live under, is that it's like almost this like confrontation of like excess consumerism. And people love that shit. Like I'll
do that, yeah.
Yeah, like they love it. I mean, that's why we have holidays back to back to back. That's why we have the Halloween, which is great, by the way. I love Halloween, my favorite.
And Christmas is encroaching on that Halloween territory.
Yeah. And because as soon as Halloween's done, then we got Thanksgiving.
Then it's Christmas.
Christmas, yeah.
November 1st is Christmas, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just a simple Jew trying to figure her way out in this Christian hegemonic world. When is Christmas November 1st?
I don't know. I'm the wrong person to ask about that. Christmas to me seems like all-consuming of everything. I think you're right. Like, once Halloween is over, it's, like, technically the holidays. And, like, I feel like even the decorations, everything that's put out in stores, it's, like, it all starts right after Halloween. Once we have that permission to, like, be festive. But, I don't know. I think it's really interesting because people really, like, they love to, like, embrace the holiday in its entirety. They love buying presents, going to light festivals and stuff like that, and
there's some cute shit around Christmas.
But it's also like, I mean, it's triggering as hell. It's like, I think it's especially for people who don't have like the family structures, the heteronormativity, and there are lots of queer people I know that celebrate it too. So it's not just like obviously it's like it's different for different people, but
there's totally like a Queersmas vibe going on in a lot of places too. But like, it's the worst thing about, okay, maybe not the worst thing, but like one of the worst things about being a disowned Jew during like Jew Christmas season is like it's so hard to find ritual objects to practice with, because that, like, you know, when was the last time that anybody that you know went out and bought a menorah? Like, most things are passed down through, like, the generations of families, and, like, you know, your parents have, like, 13 menorahs that they acquired from, like, whoever the fuck, and you get, like, 6 of them when you leave your house, or, I don't know how actual functional families work. But, like, so I don't have anything, and, like, ethically made Judaica is super expensive.
What does ethically mean to you?
So, for me, as part of my Jewish practice, I give a big fuck you middle finger to the Israeli state, because Israel ain't shit, free Palestine. So I
watch us get a ton of like.
Watch our video now get
go
reported.
Viral, yeah. Now this stuff with like free Palestine. Watch it end up on some like.
Oh, we're gonna wind up on like Breitbart now.
Oh My God.
I mean, we would wind up on Breitbart anyway because they hate me for being a Jew and they hate me for being brown and we're both queer, so...
You heard it here on TacoBagel, Free Palestine.
So, like, you know, it's really difficult to acquire Jewish ritual items that aren't connected in some way with Israel. And most of them are made by, like, independent artisans or, like, not in a part of the world that has good shipping prices.
Right.
And so it's, like, it's really expensive for, like, a humble little working class homo like me to buy a $300 menorah.
Right.
And so I have to, like, butch myself up and pick up a craft and make one.
Right.
If I want to get one accessibly.
And I know even organizations like JVP have, like, links to websites for, like, potentially authentic made, but even those, I mean, aren't
even those are still pretty expensive. Yeah. Like, you know, for somebody who is working class and works at a nonprofit, you know, $80 is a lot for, like, even the cheapest ethically made available menorah.
Yeah.
So it's, and then don't get me started on candles. There's one place to buy candles from, and they're actually really great. They're called the Narrow Bridge candles. And like every Jew that I know who practices in solidarity with the Palestinians, the movement for justice in Palestine, buys their candles from Narrow Bridge.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, it's great that there is this place to buy them from, but there's literally one place.
I wonder, you know, and it's so...
I blame the trees.
It's in the trees.
I blame them. They just came out. They just came out of the trees, man. They just came out of the trees.
Well, it's so interesting because, I mean, I think, you know, you talk about how, like, you grew up in a community where you were clearly, like, the only Jewish family, but in a place like Chicago, I think you'd expect, like, more diversity, more options, and, like, yeah, here we are kind of, like, dealing with the same sort of, like, narrow scope of access to some of these things.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming for, like, queer Jews who might have been cast out by their family, like, it's really hard to maintain that, like, authenticity to their culture.
Yeah. There are some really familially centered cultures where being disowned is a lot bigger of a deal than it is in, like, mainstream culture. Judaism is one of them. Like, it's really, really hard to accessibly practice your faith in any way, like, no matter what that looks like, if you've been disowned. Because so much of it is about, like, ancestry and culture and passing things down in tradition. That when you're severed from a family unit that you, like, were spiritually raised in, a lot of those traditions lose part of their meaning. Because a lot of them are familial traditions. And so it's very difficult to, like, plug back into that sort of thing without having to do everything from square one. Which is great and liberatory. Like, making your own shit up as you go along is the essence of every religion. But, you know, it takes time and effort and, like, oi.
Yeah.
Oi.
I mean, I feel like I understand some of that in, like, a cultural sense, too. And I think it's like, an entirely different conversation at hand, but, like, a lot of radicals, a lot of people nowadays talk about, like, decolonizing their cultures.
Right.
So what does that mean to decolonize as someone who actively celebrates Christmas? Or, like, you know, and how do you decolonize without hijacking, right?
Right.
So I think for, like, especially, like, I'm speaking from my perspective, but as a person who identifies as Latinx, like, that means that we're getting back to indigenous roots, right? But there are indigenous folks that exist right now.
Right.
Right? And that was one of the big things that I saw that conversation happening amongst indigenous communities, feeling like everybody's trying to decolonize and suddenly being native is, like, cool again.
Right.
And, you know, like, what do those practices look like? Because even for holidays like Thanksgiving is a genocidal...
Genocide day.
Yeah, it's a genocide day. And so many Mexican families I know, like, still celebrate it for just the purpose of bringing families together. So what does that look like when you're being honest with yourself about, like, the colonial genocide of your own roots, right? And it's like, you can't absolve yourself of that. You can't just say, like, all right, like, now I'm woke, I'm gonna decolonize, like, that's it, like, the Spaniard, you know, whatever part of the imperialist root, like, ancestry tree that you are a part of, like, it doesn't just go away. So
you can't just swish and flick it out of oblivion.
Yeah. And so I think Christmas is a complicated discussion, and people have a lot of love for it, and if you don't, like, blatantly just, like, accept it and, like, want it, it's like, I don't know, it's like...
People get really offended.
Yeah, they get really upset, and I'm not just talking about, like, white people or, like, Fox News,
like people.
Yes, across...
In general.
Yeah, and it's, I mean...
Although white people have a particular kind of, like, not liking people who don't like Christmas. Like, there's like, this special, like, kind of white horror that you see in, like, the faces of some white people when you're like, oh, yeah, no, I don't fucking hate Christmas. And, like...
Or you say Happy Holidays.
Oh, my God,
Merry
yes.
Christmas.
And you're like, Merry Christmas. I'm like... Is it now? Is it? To whom?
Do I look merry to you?
Oh my God.
I mean...
Is this the face of a merry person?
I'm wearing my ugly Christmas sweater, today, in what I hope is an ironic gesture.
I wore green by accident because, the Grinch life runs through my person.
Oh yeah, my partner has been telling me he's gonna, like, turn me out, I'm not gonna be a Grinch anymore, but I feel like a part of me, no matter how much, like, I assimilate or have a family or grow to accept this holiday, whether it happens or not, is going to be Grinchy at the core of it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the Grinch had some valid points.
The Grinch did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
You've heard it here on TacoBagel, folks. The Grinch did nothing wrong.
The Grinch actually, okay, so if you're talking about the original Dr. Seuss Grinch, I think they leave a lot of things uncovered. But if you watch the Jim Carrey Grinch,
right.
Tim Burton Jim Carrey Grinch, like, those people were fucking assholes.
The expanded Grinch.
Yeah, like the expanded edition of the Grinch. You see the Grinch kind of like say like, fuck these people.
Right.
They're the Whovillians are terrible ass people. And
the Who's were like white people.
And they were actually
all white people.
I think maybe I saw one or two non-white
Who's of color.
And I don't know if anybody remembers this, but at one point the Grinch tried to hail a taxi cab and it like drives right by him, and he's like, it must be because I'm green. And I was like...
I don't remember that at all!
Yes, you have to go watch. You have to watch the expanded version of the Grinch. But he makes some critical points about being othered.
That's a very critical analysis.
Yeah.
To the socio-political conditions of Whoville.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, at the end of this, in the Dr. Seuss version, they make it seem like the Who's come out, and they're like, oh, well... the presents aren't here, it's okay, we're gonna sing anyways. In the expanded version, they actually get really upset. They have a whole discussion. It takes, one little white Who girl to be like, guys, this is really messed up, before the whole city's kind of like, alright, you know what, like, let's get together and sing anyways. Right? I feel like the Grinch was really ahead of his time in a lot of ways. He understood what it was to be ostracized in a community that didn't want him. He understood what it meant to, like, feel really just, like, othered in a place that he thought he initially belonged to. And, like, that is, if anything, the Grinch is queer, right?
The Grinch is gay as fuck.
The Grinch is, everybody talks about all these, like, other characters that are queer in the fictional universe.
The Grinch is, like, canonically queer.
Yes. Yeah.
It is, in fact, our queer duty to be in firm solidarity with the Grinch.
Yeah.
The Grinch is one of the few men that I approve of.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I'm sure he's got some other problems, but, I agree with his bigger picture goals.
You heard it here. The Grinch is one of the few.
The Grinch is on the list.
Yeah, on the list. We strongly stand by in queer solidarity with the Grinch.
Yes, we do.
And if
we're part of Grinch Nation over here.
Yeah, Grinch Nation, USA. But I just want everybody to go back, read the Grinch one more time. Mm-hmm. Really, like, take a second to think about...
Like a critical analysis.
Yeah, the socio-political context of Whoville. And, I think, like, people would come back with, like, a better understanding of it.
Although Dr. Seuss was a huge anti-Semite.
Right.
So, like, also consider that.
Yeah. Am I wrong? Did he not, like, get called out and then, like, start changing?
He did. He, like, tried to make up for it at one point, but he was also, like, a shitbag before.
Alright, well, the point is...
He did better than Disney, where Disney was never, like, Disney never apologized or, like, tried to do anything to correct it. He was just like, nah, fuck it, I like Nazis. build a statue of me. But Dr. Seuss tried to make up for it.
Okay.
And you know, he did a couple things.
Okay.
You know, he tried. He made like an effort.
Well, if anything, that further proves that you can be a person who can evolve in some ways, and I don't know.
Although I'm hesitant to be a Dr. Seuss apologist.
I don't know Dr. Seuss. He might have been a fucking asshole.
The Grinch, on the other hand,
but the
was
Grinch
great.
was a byproduct
Yes.
of something bigger than Dr. Seuss,
Yes.
I think, and so...
The Grinch was, in fact, a byproduct of what happens when you force people into a Christian hegemonic framework.
Yeah.
You will inevitably produce Grinches who try to push back against that, like, Jesus-y hegemony that, you know, is rare roast beast and, like, obnoxious amounts of Christmas lights. Also, who can afford that, by the way? Who can afford that electric bill?
I do not, though.
See, this is also a class thing for all of our communists in the audience that need to hear the word class.
Ooh, we're going there.
But you know, it's a class thing and it's a faith thing and it's like, you know, it's a racialized and it's an ethnic thing. And you know, Christmas is fucking expensive. Like you hear all the time about families who are like culturally shamed for not being able to like afford big fancy Christmas presents.
And you know what's interesting is that we do actively as a nation, we do a lot of shaming of people for like being so aggressive and such aggressive consumers during like Black Friday, and that is just an extension of the Christmas like holiday.
It's literally Christmas shopping day.
Yes, and so it's like you leave these people, you leave working class people in a situation where they can't afford, you know, a living wage, where they want to provide the best, most resourceful Christmas for their family.
They're forced to in many ways.
Yeah, and it's like literally like fight for your present type situation. So I have personal, you know, qualms.
It's like a dignity scramble.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I have personal qualms about Black Friday, like just kind of on like a anti-capitalist level, but I'm not in a position, and I will never be in a position to shame working class, low income people for wanting to have access to those things that so many other people have virtually, like, very easy access to. So, I think, if anything, we're going to wrap this up soon, but if anything, in addition to the analysis of the Grinch,
oh my God.
I think it's just something to think about.
Grinchology.
Grinchology. It's valid. I think
critical Grinch studies.
Yeah, somebody should.
Are there any professors in the audience that want to teach a course about the Grinch?
Grinchology, I really.
Critical Grinch studies.
And I think it's good to just reevaluate and self-reflect because we kind of just accept it, right?
Right.
It's like, oh, Christmas is here. This is what's supposed to happen. Jolly cheer, and like
you put up the tree, you dance in a circle, you give each other gifts, and then it snows.
And I'm just here to tell all the rest of the Grinches, like, it's fucking okay. Like, you don't have to be happy.
Grinch on.
Yeah,
Grinch
the fuck on. Like, let's be authentic and true to ourselves. So
we should create green wrist. No, we're gonna get sued. We're gonna get sued for this. But we should create green wristbands that say Grinch strong.
Grinch strong.
We'll get totally sued for this, but it's a wonderful idea.
If anybody has any copyright knowledge,
if Lance Armstrong is watching, please disregard.
Oh my God. Yes. So thank you guys for joining us on this very long journey of unpacking our Grinchiness.
Yes.
And maybe we'll be doing more videos like this. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. If you like us, let us know. If you love us, also let us know.
Also, if you just fucking hated us but watched anyways, like, let us know.
Yeah.
'Cause
if you have any feeling whatsoever in your entire body about what you just saw, tell us. And we probably will read it. L'chaim.